During the dinner party, everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves, chatting easily together. I stayed mostly quiet, sipping my soup off to the side and listening to their conversations. They talked about subjects that felt distant from my own experiences, often slipping into French right in front of me, Olivia's supposed official boyfriend. They wished Julian and Olivia well, casually asking about their wedding plans as if it were a settled matter. I glanced over at Olivia. She wore a polite, non-committal smile, neither agreeing nor disagreeing with anything being said. To try and bridge the gap between their world and mine, I had secretly spent time learning 4 commonly spoken languages, including French. Despite my efforts, I still felt like an outsider among this group of highly educated individuals. PhDs and professors who had studied abroad and clearly looked down on me, someone with only a community college degree. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, I excused myself from the table and stepped outside to make a phone call. "Ryan," I said to my brother, "I've decided. I'm willing to consider the family-arranged dates you mentioned." After ending the call, I booked a late-night flight back to my hometown, City A. When I arrived back in City A around 2 a.m., Olivia still hadn't returned to our shared apartment there. A news alert popped up on my phone. A well-known domestic entrepreneur, my father, had passed away. The report mentioned that half of his substantial estate would be donated to charity. Reading the comments mourning the loss of this respected, charitable businessman brought tears to my eyes as I thought back to the last time I saw him. By the time I had reached the hospital after hearing he was unwell, it was already too late. My father had always suffered from a weak heart, but kept it hidden from almost everyone, too proud to appear vulnerable. My brother Ryan met me with eyes full of sadness and a hint of guilt. "He regretted not seeing you one last time," Ryan told me softly. "And he wished he could have seen you settle down. I know you're in a difficult situation, Ethan, but arranging marriages has always been a tradition in our family. Father always said you had the most talent among us. It was a shame you chose to leave town back then. But now you're the only one who can really lead the business forward. Please think it over," he urged. My father had 2 main hopes for me: to take charge of the family business and to see me happily married. Before leaving for City A, I had pleaded with Olivia, hoping she would come back home with me just this once, perhaps to offer my father some peace of mind in his final days. "Olivia, please, just this once, can you come with me?" I had asked. But she just grabbed her coat, seeming annoyed and ready to leave in a rush. "Ethan, there's a limit to acting foolishly," she snapped. "Julian is drunk. It's freezing cold outside and it's not safe for him to be alone." She pulled her hand away from mine and slammed the door behind her as she left. The thing was, Julian wasn't actually alone. Their mutual friend Ben was with him. Later that same evening, I saw Ben's post on social media. Seeing love reappear after all these years really makes us single folks envious. That post, combined with Olivia's actions, was the final push I needed. I stopped trying to fool myself and finally decided to let go completely. I booked my one-way flight back home. While I was packing my belongings in our apartment, getting ready for my permanent move back home, I heard the front door open. Olivia walked in, wearing a short black leather skirt. "You're back already?" she asked, squinting at me sleepily. "Why aren't you asleep yet?" She seemed too tired to question me further when I gave a vague excuse. "I'm just packing some things I need to send back home," I lied. She simply nodded. "Okay, well, it's late now. You should get some rest." "I'll finish packing later," I told her, avoiding further conversation. I was unusually quiet that day, and Olivia seemed puzzled by my calmness, though she didn't press the issue. Just then, her phone rang loudly, breaking the silence. On the other end, Julian's voice slurred drunkenly. "Olivia, can you come over? I feel like I can't hold on, he pleaded. You just lie down and relax. Olivia comforted him immediately, her voice gentle in a way I rarely heard directed towards me. I'm here for you. Don't be afraid. She started to explain to me. Julian has depression, and he's drunk. You know he needs someone around in case... But I cut her off with a simple nod. I know. Olivia froze for a second, instinctively pulling her sleeve down further, trying to hide the faint scars on her wrist, scars from a time when her own depression was at its worst, a time when I was the one who helped her through everything. You mentioned before that you wanted me to go home with you, she said hesitantly, clearly feeling uneasy about my uncharacteristic calmness. Maybe after things settle down with Julian, I might be free. She paused, then added, and I've been planning to properly introduce you to all my friends soon. I just nodded again. I had waited years for Olivia to acknowledge our relationship publicly, but hearing her offer now, just as I was mentally checking out, felt hollow. It seemed like the right time to finally draw a clear line under these undefined years. As I got dressed for the gathering with her friends later, Olivia looked at me, surprised. Ethan, why are you dressed like that? She asked. Is there something wrong with this? I replied coolly. No, the suit looks great on you, Olivia stammered, seeming slightly disoriented. Around her friends, I usually wore simple white t-shirts, aiming for an understated look that Olivia used to say was tasteful and poised. Today, however, I had chosen a well-tailored suit and even taken the time to style my hair. Olivia's eyes held a hint of apology, likely feeling guilty for spending the entire previous night with Julian and only returning that morning. You look really nice in that suit, she offered. Maybe you should buy a few more like it when you go back home. I replied nonchalantly. For some reason, Olivia seemed to sense a definite shift in my attitude. An uncomfortable silence hung between us. When we arrived at the venue, Julian and his friends were waiting outside a private room. They greeted Olivia warmly, their chatter full of the ease of a long-awaited reunion. The conversation quickly moved from cultural critiques to discussions about expressing feelings, eventually landing on Olivia's supposed long-standing affection for Julian. Olivia has waited for you all these years, Julian, Ben teased, looking at Olivia with a playful smirk. Everyone knows you two were the perfect couple back in the day. He continued, Olivia and you're the real deal. Someone else interjected, but Olivia already has a boyfriend, doesn't she? It's too late now. It's never too late, Ben insisted. We all know Olivia's heart has always been with Julian. That guy she's with now, he's just nothing. Ben, isn't that a bit harsh? Someone murmured quietly. Come on, everyone knows Olivia loved Julian the most, another friend chimed in. If Ethan hadn't stepped in back then, they would have gotten back together ages ago. Olivia hasn't forgotten Julian. Ethan was just a stand-in. Someone else added, Watch, Ethan probably tries to dress just like Julian now, like some kind of knockoff. It's embarrassing. Just as they were talking, I walked into the room. Everyone suddenly stopped speaking, staring at me. Perhaps the boy standing before them, with his tailored suit and confident air, projected an extraordinary aura quite different from the elegant, artistic grace associated with Julian. The atmosphere became distinctly awkward. Observing their stunned silence, I greeted them confidently. Someone mumbled under their breath, This isn't quite what I expected. Seeing Olivia, Julian walked over with a welcoming smile, completely ignoring my presence. Olivia, congratulations, he exclaimed. You've won the top prize again this year. Tell us about your latest work. He easily drew Olivia and the group into conversation, laughing and chatting as if I weren't even there. Olivia spoke joyfully about the inspiration behind her recent paintings and her experiences over the past few years. Julian skillfully kept the conversation flowing, their back-and-forth rapport like a perfectly harmonized melody. They looked very much like a couple. Suddenly, Ben turned the conversation to French. "So, when are you two finally getting married?" he asked Julian directly. Everyone turned to look at me, a knowing glint in their eyes as they continued chatting easily in French. Julian replied to the well wishes, also in French. I looked sideways at Olivia. She didn't deny anything, maintaining her polite smile. Sighing inwardly, I stood up and quietly left the room. Ben glanced at me as I left, a hint of disdain in his expression, clearly assuming someone from a community college couldn't possibly understand French. What none of them knew was that over the years, I had taught myself 4 languages, specifically trying to bridge the gap, to get closer to Olivia and fit into her world. Basic conversation wasn't difficult for me to follow. Listening to the muffled sounds of laughter coming from the private room, I dialed my brother's number again. "Hey, Ryan," I said when he answered. "It's confirmed. I'm willing to come back and take over everything Dad left." "Ethan! I'm so glad to hear that." Ryan's voice was filled with genuine joy. "Mom and I were both hoping you'd come back. You were always Dad's pride, you know. No matter what happens, we just want you to be happy." Hearing his relief, I felt a sense of validation. At least I was finally making a decision that aligned with my family's hopes. "However," I added, "I'll probably need about a month to wrap things up properly here." Is your girlfriend coming back with you?" Ryan asked, sensing something hesitant in my tone. Hearing him mention Olivia made me pause for a moment. "Brother," I said finally, "I'm actually planning to break up with her. I intend to fully commit to carrying on Dad's legacy and making the business thrive in our generation." My brother sighed softly. "Ethan, all this time she wouldn't even come home with you. Not even to see Dad one last time. Maybe it's better to let her go. Don't worry, I'll help find someone much better suited for you later on." "Thanks, bro," I replied, feeling genuinely touched. Family really will always be my safe harbor. Back inside the venue, Olivia eventually noticed my empty seat and seemed to feel a wave of panic, though she tried to hide it. She must have been wondering what was going on with me. Since my recent trip back home after my father's passing, I hadn't been clinging to her or causing any scenes. My unusual quietness seemed to unsettle her more than my previous occasional outbursts of frustration ever did. Olivia started sipping her drink steadily, one after another. When I returned to the private room later, I found her quite drunk. I tried to help her up, but she pushed me away forcefully. "I don't want to go home," she cried out, clinging to Julian. Julian, why did you leave me? Julian, don't go." The rest of the crowd knowingly turned their heads away, awkwardly touching their noses or looking down, clearly uncomfortable. Olivia looked like an abandoned puppy, her eyes glistening with tears. Julian looked over at me, a clear glint of victory in his eyes, though he feigned an apologetic and awkward expression. "Ethan, sorry about this," he said smoothly. "Olivia gets like this sometimes." "Then you're welcome to handle it," I replied calmly, graciously leaving Olivia in his care. "Ethan, are you even a man?" Ben suddenly glared at me, his voice filled with anger. My casual attitude towards Olivia's drunken display seemed to genuinely upset him. "Aren't you supposed to be her boyfriend?" I calmly watched Olivia clinging tightly to Julian, then turned and walked away without any hesitation. Back at the apartment, I finished packing my remaining belongings. Anything that linked me to this place, to Olivia, was swiftly erased. After a moment's hesitation, I walked over to the small art studio space I maintained. Countless sketches, mostly depicting people's backs, filled the room. Sighing, I sat down at the drawing board and pulled out some old sketches, their edges softened by time. One sketch, in particular, caught my eye. Something I had quickly drawn the day I first met Olivia and accidentally left behind. She had found it later, picked it up, and taken it home, telling me it became a source of inspiration for her own art. Taking a charcoal pencil, I added the final strokes to an unfinished painting from back then, finally bringing color and completion to it. Olivia didn't come back home that night. I didn't try calling her again. Instead, I spent the time finalizing things at my design studio. "Ethan, are you really leaving us?" My colleagues gathered around me, clearly reluctant to see me go. I had built this small design studio from scratch, pouring my heart and soul into it. Now that it was finally becoming successful, I was walking away. "You're all capable of standing on your own now," I told them. "Don't let the foundation I built go to waste." "You little rascal, leaving just like that. So heartless." My friend and main collaborator, Sam, scolded playfully, though his eyes showed genuine concern. He, of course, knew the full story, how much I had invested emotionally in my relationship with Olivia. He remembered back when Olivia, then considered a genius artist, got entangled in a damaging plagiarism scandal and simultaneously lost her previous soulmate, Julian. It was me who had painstakingly helped her emerge from that dark period. When Olivia fell deep into depression, I stayed constantly by her side, accompanying her through doctor's appointments, therapy sessions, everything. In my spare time, I shuttled back and forth between my work and her place, just to make sure she ate properly and didn't harm herself. To clear Olivia's name from the plagiarism accusations, I personally investigated the matter, sparing no effort or expense. I even leveraged my own connections to pave the way for her career resurgence. To protect her fragile ego during her recovery, I used the pseudonym Jason to secretly commission and purchase Olivia's paintings, subtly incorporating elements of her art into fashion designs produced by my studio. This strategy helped Olivia slowly regain her confidence and visibility in the art world. Did you hear? At the May Fashion Showcase, they released their latest collection of dresses. I overheard a group of young women chattering excitedly in a cafe one afternoon. The most talked about piece is the wedding dress designed by that rising star designer, Julian. Apparently, the intricate patterns on the dress were hand-drawn by the talented artist Olivia, bit by bit. It's so romantic, like a mutual pursuit of love. But wait, didn't they break up a long time ago? Another girl asked. Yeah, but Olivia still has that boyfriend. Doesn't matter though, isn't a reunion even better? They're such a perfect match, both talented and attractive. So what if she has a boyfriend? The first girl scoffed. Love is a game for the brave. Besides, Julian and Olivia knew each other first. Love should be about finding your equal, right? And that other guy, he just doesn't deserve her at all. Love should be about mutual growth, but that community college dude is just going to drag Olivia down like a weed. They flipped through fashion magazines, giggling amongst themselves. Sam, who was with me, looked pale with anger. The logic seemed utterly absurd. Don't sweat it, I whispered, holding him back as he looked ready to start an argument. I just shook my head. When we walked out of the cafe, Sam still seemed visibly upset. I just don't want to be part of this relationship anymore, I sighed, explaining my decision to him. But Ethan, you've done so much for her, Sam protested. You've already walked 99 steps towards her. Are you really going to give up now, just before the finish line? Sam knew me almost too well, like a true brother would. I nodded, my expression determined. I don't want to wait any longer, Sam. Olivia won't take even a single step towards me. Even if I keep moving towards her, she'll just keep running off towards someone else. When you realize you're on the wrong path, you need to change course before it's too late." "What if," Sam mused, "one day you're standing right next to Olivia professionally, maybe even above her, and she suddenly regrets her choices and comes running back to you? Would you turn back then?" Mike asked seriously. I shook my head without hesitation. "People don't just stay in one place waiting forever, Sam." While I was finishing packing my last few boxes back at the apartment, an unexpected guest appeared at my door. I recognized him immediately. It was Daniel, Olivia's older brother. He looked at me with unconcealed disdain. "I'm not going to come inside," he stated flatly. "I just wanted to let you know personally. Our family will only ever accept Julian as my sister's partner. Olivia and you simply don't think the same way. You don't operate on the same level. Since the beginning, both our families have dedicated themselves to certain ideals, certain pursuits. You can't force your way into a circle that doesn't want you. It's best not to even try." I offered Daniel a faint, humorless smile. "Oh, really? Is that why Julian left her in the first place? Was it because of some profound lack of soul connection back then?" "In any case," Daniel continued, ignoring my sarcastic remark, "let's try to keep things diplomatic between us. My sister is confused right now. I hope you'll be the sensible one here, the one who knows when to back off gracefully. Anyway," he concluded abruptly, "I have a discussion about ancient cultural rituals I need to get to, so I'll stop here." He turned and walked away. I watched him go, a hint of irony in my gaze. I clearly remembered when Olivia was struggling deeply with her depression years ago. It was this same Daniel who had earnestly pleaded with me, "Ethan, she's incredibly fragile right now. I trust you to take care of her." And now he wanted me to keep it respectful and know when to back off. Later that night, when Olivia finally returned home, I noticed she was wearing new clothes. I recognized the outfit instantly. It was the latest couple's tracksuit set from the May fashion collection, the one designed by Julian himself. Olivia noticed my gaze fixed on her clothes. "Oh, this?" she stammered. I spilled something on my clothes earlier at Julian's place, and honestly, the only other clothes there that fit me were these." "Don't worry," she quickly reassured me. "Nothing happened between us. Ben was even there the whole time." I just smiled, saying nothing. Ben, the #1 cheerleader for Julian and Olivia's relationship, being there was hardly reassuring. Olivia then sheepishly raised a small cake box she was holding. "Tomorrow is our anniversary," she reminded me. "I bought your favorite mango cake." I looked at the slightly crushed, melting cake in the box, feeling dazed. "Sorry," she said, frustrated. "It got a little melted on the way back. I forgot to put it in the fridge right away because I was busy giving Julian his medicine." She tried to rally. "It's okay, you can still make a wish." I shook my head slowly. "Olivia, I'm allergic to mangoes, remember? And besides," I added gently, gesturing to the sad state of the cake, "it's already spoiled. Just toss it. You should get some rest." As I turned to walk away, I saw the anxious expression flash across Olivia's face. It seemed like she had finally made up her mind about something. She suddenly grabbed my hand. "Ethan," she asked, her voice earnest, Would you come home with me tomorrow, to properly meet my family?" I wanted to tell her right then and there that I was leaving for good. After what her brother Daniel had said earlier that day, what exactly were these siblings planning? Perhaps it was best just to go along with it for one more day, make an appearance, and then make a clean break tomorrow to avoid any further confusion or lingering misunderstandings. "Ethan, you seem different lately," Olivia remarked during the drive to her parents' house the next day. She kept giving me looks I couldn't quite decipher. I avoided her gaze, focusing instead on the scenery outside the window. Her family lived in an area renowned as a cultural hub, steeped in the refined spirit of scholars and poets. When we arrived, I was surprised to see Julian already there. "I heard Olivia was bringing her boyfriend home today," Julian said charmingly, making Olivia's mother laugh. "So her mother invited me along to observe as well. Olivia won't mind, right?" he added, directing the question nominally at her, but clearly playing to the parents. "After all," he concluded smoothly, "we're practically family." Olivia's brother, Daniel, looked at me with a meaningful, almost challenging expression. They were family. I was the outsider. Inside the house, Julian effortlessly engaged in deep conversations with Olivia's parents and grandfather, discussing topics like history, art, and philosophy. Subjects I couldn't easily follow. They quoted classic literature and historical texts, earning nods of approval and praise from the older gentleman. I remained calm, sipping my tea quietly, feeling like an invisible presence off to the side. After a while, Olivia's mother turned to Julian. "Julian, dear, perhaps you could take Ethan out to the garden for some fresh air," she suggested, her tone polite, but her dismissive glance towards me unmistakable. "Of course, Auntie," Julian replied readily. I understood the hint perfectly. They wanted me out of the way. I stood up and followed Julian outside. "Ethan, let's talk," Julian started once we were alone in the garden. He adopted a patronizing tone. "We all appreciate everything you've done for Olivia over the years, but as you can clearly see, her family wants me as their son-in-law. It's all about matching backgrounds, you understand? Cultural refinement, social status, these things matter. I expect you're smart enough to take the hint and do what's best for everyone involved." Squinting at him, I retorted coolly, "Matching backgrounds? So you all just decide for Olivia without even asking her what she wants? Does her choice mean anything in this?" "It wouldn't matter what she chose right now," Julian replied confidently, looking at me with a knowing, superior smile. "There's only one acceptable answer here, Ethan." He paused, then added magnanimously, "Look, I can even help you. I can fund an overseas education for you, help you become one of the elite, so you can finally fit into our circle." His condescending attitude was infuriating. "No thanks," I replied curtly. "Why be so stubborn, Ethan?" Julian sighed dramatically. "Fine. If you won't step aside willingly, I'll find another way to make you give up." He finished with a sly, threatening grin. With that, I turned and left him standing there in the garden. The family dinner, unsurprisingly, didn't end well. On the drive back towards our apartment, Olivia looked exhausted and stressed. I was just about to bring up the topic of our breakup to finally end things when Daniel called Olivia's phone urgently. "Olivia, come back quickly! Julian's not doing well!" Almost simultaneously, Olivia received a photo message from Julian. It was a picture of him, wearing the signature suit he had designed, sitting precariously on the edge of a skyscraper rooftop. The accompanying text read, "Olivia, I'll marry you in the next life." I saw Olivia's face drain of color. Without a single moment of hesitation, she turned the car around and sped off towards the skyscraper district. My heart ached watching her go, her priorities starkly clear. I got out of the car right there, turned around, and started walking in the opposite direction. Back at the apartment for the last time, I finished packing my final bag. Just then, a notification popped up on a public social media platform I rarely checked. It featured a dramatic photo of Julian and Olivia embracing passionately, accompanied by text hailing the legendary romance of the genius painter and the rising fashion star. Multiple marketing accounts were aggressively pushing the story likely Daniel's handiwork, trying to control the narrative. I sighed, resigned, and rescheduled my flight for 10 p.m. the next day to give myself time. Around midnight that next evening, just before I needed to leave for the airport, Olivia finally stumbled back home, looking drained. Her presence made me uneasy. I dampened a towel and gently wiped her face, trying to rouse her. Olivia suddenly grabbed my hand, hugging me tightly. "Ethan, Julian has depression," she mumbled drowsily. "I was just comforting him, okay? Don't overthink it." "Yeah, I know," I replied flatly. I remembered all too well the time Olivia herself was severely depressed after the plagiarism scandal. I was the one who helped her through every step of that darkness. I remembered the horrifying time she cut her wrists in the bathroom. I had stormed through a torrential downpour to her apartment, broken down the door, and carried her, bleeding heavily, to the hospital. Thinking about it now made me feel dazed. I wanted to push her away, but she just held on tighter. Somehow, in her half-conscious state, she managed to slip a ring onto my finger. "Ethan, it's an anniversary gift," she murmured. I looked down at the ring. It didn't fit properly. It was too large, clearly not my size. Compared to the grand, dramatic gestures Julian made on the skyscraper, her mumbled words of affection felt like empty, drunken ramblings. "Ethan," she continued, her voice thick with sleep and perhaps emotion. "Let's get engaged after this competition finishes, okay? It's almost the end of the year. Let's have a proper family dinner together soon. Haven't you said your dad really wanted to meet me? What kind of gift would he like?" Olivia seemed flustered now, perhaps sensing my detachment even through her haze. She had never seen me look so utterly forlorn before, and seemed at a loss. I had asked her several times over the years to come home with me, to meet my family, but she always used being busy with her career as an excuse. That family dinner she was now proposing would never happen. I quickly regained my composure. Olivia must have sensed the slight trembling in my hands because she gently patted my back, attempting to comfort me. "Don't be sad today," she whispered. Apparently, when Julian had interrogated her earlier about her feelings, the person she had thought of was me, Ethan. She had decided that once Julian's condition stabilized, she would marry me. "It's late now," I said softly. "Let's just get some rest." I turned to go back to my room. "Ethan!" Olivia called after me, pulling at my hand, a hint of panic in her voice. "Let's celebrate our anniversary properly tomorrow. Let's just stay home together, okay?" I nodded, deciding it was best to have the final, clear conversation tomorrow before I left. The next day, I prepared a table full of food, intending to have that final talk over a meal. But when I went to wake Olivia, her room was empty. A message arrived shortly after. "Ethan, I'm taking Julian to the hospital for a follow-up appointment. I'll be back to have dinner with you tonight, I promise." I waited quietly at the dining table. The food grew cold. I reheated it. Hours passed. Night fell. Olivia still hadn't returned. A bitter smile touched my lips. I had to leave for the airport. Sitting in the airport lounge during the last few minutes before boarding, I tried calling Olivia one last time. Her phone went straight to voicemail. It was off. Idly scrolling through my phone, I saw Daniel's latest social media post. It was a photo capturing a joyful family dinner. Olivia, Julian, and Julian's parents, all smiling together. The caption read simply, "Welcoming our new family member." I liked the post. Then I opened my message thread with Olivia, typed out a final message, and sent it. "Let's end this. Wishing you and Julian happiness. I left your ring on the table. Olivia, this time I'm not waiting around for you." After sending it, I blocked her number and all her social media profiles. Then, walking towards the boarding gate, I tossed my phone into the nearest airport trash bin. As soon as I stepped off the plane in City A, I saw my brother Ryan waiting for me at the arrivals gate. He stood there, his expression full of concern. "Did you take care of everything?" he asked softly. I just nodded. "Ethan," he said, clapping me gently on the shoulder, no matter what happened. Welcome home." Ryan and I headed home together. Our mother's eyes welled up with tears the moment she saw me step through the door. "Oh, Ethan, it's so good to have you home," she whispered, hugging me tightly. Meanwhile, back in the other city, Olivia finally managed to explain things to Julian and calm him down after his hospital visit. By the time she left his place, it was already late at night. After ensuring her brother Daniel would stay to look after Julian, she hurriedly left. At that moment, her mind was consumed by a single thought. Ethan was still at home, waiting for her. She tried calling me on her way, only to realize her phone battery had died. A deep sense of anxiety began to creep in. She felt as if she had lost something incredibly important. "Surely Ethan will wait for me," she reassured herself silently. "He always does." Every time she had come home late in the past, I would be there, patiently waiting on the sofa, sometimes dozing lightly, always waiting until she arrived safely. But when she finally burst through the apartment door, she was greeted only by the sight of the cold, untouched meal on the dining table. She rushed frantically into my room, finding it completely empty, stripped bare of any sign of me. She quickly plugged in her phone to charge it. As soon as it turned on, she saw my final message. "Where are you?" She typed back instantly, only to receive the red exclamation mark indicating she had been blocked. Panic finally truly set in. She dialed my number frantically, over and over, but it always went straight to the turned-off notification. She finally understood the source of her recent unease, the reason behind my strange calmness. I had become more understanding, more patient, only because I had emotionally detached, because I had stopped caring. Ever since she had prioritized Julian after my father's death, everything had shifted. What had gone wrong? They were supposed to get married soon, weren't they? I had done so much for her over the years. How could I just give up and leave her now? No, it wasn't possible. They would get married as soon as her current art competition was over. I would surely wait for her. She convinced herself of this. But I was far too overwhelmed with my own responsibilities to spare much thought for Olivia's turmoil. The family business was facing significant challenges, and Ryan, despite his best efforts since our father passed away, was clearly struggling to manage everything alone. "Ethan, you don't have to work yourself this hard, really," Ryan said one evening, looking at me with concern in his eyes after another long day at the office. "Bro," I replied, "can you set up a meeting for me with Maya Chen tomorrow? We need a strong partner. Things can't keep going like this." The next day I met Maya at a quiet cafe. There were plenty of fashion magazines scattered on the tables. Maya randomly picked one up, the latest issue of Fashion Weekly. "Merging tradition with modernity. It's a significant undertaking, Miss Chen," I commented, initiating the business talk. Maya's slender fingers flipped casually through the magazine pages. The first major article featured the works of the genius painter Olivia. Her latest piece was a striking portrait depicting the back of a young man. Another featured piece, quite controversial, showed the back of a woman, her figure elegantly highlighted by a traditional qipao, marked subtly by the passage of time. Coincidentally, the cafe's TV was broadcasting highlights from a recent art award ceremony live. On screen, an interviewer asked Julian, Julian, is that silhouette in Olivia's painting yours? It looks so much like her latest work. I declare these two paintings the perfect matching profile pics for partners. Did you paint the other one as a response?" Julian, standing nearby, readily admitted it with a laugh. I watched the camera focus on Olivia, standing beside him. She didn't deny his claim, simply smiled politely. Plagiarism, or allowing someone else to imply joint creation of deeply personal work, was considered highly disgraceful in the art world. Yet it seemed Olivia was willing to participate in this charade for Julian's benefit. A bitter smile touched my lips. "I really like your company's designs," Maya said, bringing my attention back to our meeting. "But since your brand is relatively new to this high-fashion segment, there's certainly some risk involved." She paused, meeting my eyes directly. "However, risk and opportunity often go hand in hand. I trust your vision, Ethan. Let's aim for a successful partnership." Our family's fashion brand had always been stuck in a mid-tier position, despite all my father's efforts over the years. Initially, when I was helping Olivia rebuild her career, I had used the pseudonym Jason to collaborate with my friend Sam's design studio, keeping my involvement hidden. My original plan had been to officially return to the family company only after marrying Olivia. I hadn't forgotten my father's wish regarding her. I had even given up pursuing my own design aspirations and moved to her city specifically to study business management, all for her sake. Just as Maya and I were finalizing the details of our partnership, the TV in the cafe broadcast some shocking news from the art competition Olivia was participating in. The grand prize-winning artwork wasn't Olivia's after all. It was another piece, signed simply Jason. On screen, my friend Sam was accepting the award, waving his arms excitedly. "Ethan, I know you're watching. Are you happy now?" He then looked down, subtly signaling to Maya, who happened to be attending the event as a sponsor. "Sis, help me out here," he mouthed eagerly towards her. Maya turned her head, momentarily ignoring his plea, and looked at me expectantly. "Speak," I said calmly, glancing towards the TV screen where Sam was basking in the unexpected limelight. Later, Sam explained everything. "Ethan," he said earnestly, "I just couldn't stand seeing all your hard work go unnoticed, especially with Julian trying to subtly claim your style as his own glory. So I submitted one of your Jason pieces for the competition on your behalf," he continued, his eyes flashing with anger. "Now everyone online is freaking out because Jason's work and Julian's recent designs look shockingly similar. Julian is getting exposed right now. All his past misdeeds are surfacing. Apparently, he was the one responsible for Olivia's original plagiarism scandal. He sold her early sketches without permission to fund his studies abroad. Now that he's getting famous, the middleman who helped him sell those paintings back then is demanding a bigger cut. And it seems they couldn't reach an agreement, so the middleman leaked everything." Sam took a breath. "Don't be mad, Ethan. I heard you needed a strong business partner, so I brought my sister Maya to meet you, to show our sincerity. We can't just give up on our design potential. Besides," he added fiercely, "Julian and Olivia's combined talent doesn't hold a candle to yours alone." I knew Sam felt bad about everything I had been through with Olivia. A warm feeling spread through my chest. His loyalty meant a lot. "You little punk," I said, shaking my head but smiling. 3 days later, there was a major charity art auction. As the winner of the recent competition, Jason was required to create a new piece specifically for this event, with part of the proceeds going to a designated charity fund. "What are you planning to paint?" Maya asked me. I smiled, thinking of the 2 profile pictures Julian and Olivia had implicitly claimed as a pair. "This will do," I murmured, selecting one of my other back profile sketches. At the auction, I inevitably saw Olivia. She was there, but Julian was noticeably absent. As I was introduced under my real name, but acknowledged as the artist Jason, Olivia approached me, her eyes wide with recognition. "Ethan, so, you're Jason? The teacher? I still have that sketch you left behind years ago. I've been looking for you ever since." The sketch I had carelessly left behind after our first brief meeting had indeed become her initial source of inspiration. Thinking back to that fleeting encounter, the hopeful young artist before me now seemed vastly different from the person she had become. The French organizer greeted me warmly, and I responded with a polite smile in fluent French. Olivia looked surprised, then seemed to remember something. "Ethan, I'm so sorry," she started, perhaps referring to the French conversation at the dinner party. "It's okay," I replied curtly. Just then, Maya came over, smiling, and gave Olivia a deliberately challenging look. "Ethan, who is this?" Olivia asked, looking between me and Maya. Without saying a word, I simply extended my hand to Maya. Taking her hand firmly in mine, I turned back to Olivia and said coolly, "You should probably worry more about your fiancé." The auction proceeded. Besides paintings, there were also valuable antiques up for bidding. It quickly became apparent that no matter what item I showed interest in, Olivia would immediately try to outbid me, driven by spite. "Done bidding on that?" Maya asked me quietly after Olivia won a minor piece I had casually bid on. "We need to be mindful of costs, Ethan. Even if we have the resources, we shouldn't just throw money around unnecessarily." Then, when a rare Song Dynasty vase came up, an item I genuinely admired, Maya calmly entered the bidding. Olivia, her eyes filled with resentment, watched as Maya drove the price up tenfold, far beyond Olivia's means. Maya secured the vase in the end. "It's just a pretty vase for display," she commented loud enough for Olivia to hear. Olivia looked at Maya, her eyes filled with disdain. "Isn't it a pity to let such a beautiful piece gather dust without truly appreciating its aesthetic value?" she retorted. Maya responded smoothly, implying something deeper. "After all, if Jason hadn't transformed your early paintings into fashion designs, you might still be an unknown artist struggling for recognition, wouldn't you?" Olivia flushed, ignoring the barb. Finally, the auction for my new painting began. Olivia held her breath, watching intently. It was another back silhouette, similar in style to my previous work, but clearly not depicting her. As the bidding started, Maya subtly gave a signal to her associates in the room, effectively silencing any other potential bidders. Olivia clenched her bidding paddle, realizing she was powerless to even enter the race. Maya's gesture made it clear she would outbid anyone, no matter the price. Olivia paled, the reality hitting her. She had no means to compete with Maya financially, no matter how hard she tried. As the auction concluded successfully, Maya and I headed back towards the studio space we were now sharing. "This vase's pattern actually fits quite well with our new fashion theme," Maya mused, examining her purchase. "Yes," I agreed. "Both the jewels from your family's collection and my fashion designs can draw inspiration from this motif." "Good. Do what you think is best," Maya said easily. "And thanks to you, Maya, for being so generous tonight," I smiled at her. "Well, I really liked the drawing you made specifically for me," Maya whispered back, leaning closer slightly. When I arrived back at my apartment building later that evening, I saw a familiar figure waiting by the entrance. "Ethan," Olivia said softly, looking at me with a hint of the old tenderness in her eyes. "What are you doing here, Olivia?" I asked, my voice deliberately cold. "I told you. After this competition was over, let's get married," she stated, her eyes showing a desperate determination. "Don't you want Julian anymore?" I questioned pointedly. "I told you before, Ethan. Julian and I are just friends. He's just a patient, like a little brother to me," she insisted vehemently. "Olivia," I sighed. "I'm planning to take over my family's business now. We are on completely different paths. Julian is the kind of husband who fits perfectly into your social circle. Please, don't come looking for me anymore." "Ethan, are you leaving me?" Olivia asked, her voice breaking. She suddenly hugged me tightly from behind, wrapping her arms around my waist. I quietly, but firmly, broke free from her grasp. "Let's not get physical, Olivia. I'm already engaged to someone else." "You're lying!" she cried, shaking her head in disbelief. That's impossible. You promised you'd wait for me." Just then, my brother Ryan's voice called out, "Ethan?" He walked up, saw Olivia clinging to my arm, and looked at her with undisguised hostility. "So this is Olivia? I've heard Ethan, mention you." He forced a polite smile. "Why don't you come inside?" Olivia seemed pleased by the invitation, perhaps mistaking it for acceptance. I sighed inwardly, but didn't stop them. I had told my brother everything I had experienced over the years, and knowing his protective, slightly vengeful nature, I suspected what he intended. But when Olivia stepped inside my family home and saw Maya sitting comfortably in the living room, chatting easily with my mother, her face turned visibly pale. Maya looked up, her expression calm and welcoming, while my mother looked delighted. "Hello, Auntie," Olivia murmured respectfully. "I'm Olivia." My mother nodded kindly. "Hello, dear. Please, have a seat." "Auntie, I came here today to—" Olivia began, likely intending to plead her case. But my mother interrupted her gently. "Ethan," she said, turning to me but speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Our families have had an engagement understanding with the Chens since you children were young. Now that you're finally home and have clearly reconnected with dear Maya," she beamed at Maya, "I suppose I don't have to worry about arranging a formal meeting for you two after all." "Auntie, don't you want to ask Ethan about his wishes in this?" Olivia asked, looking directly at me, her eyes desperately holding on to a sliver of hope. Maya also turned her gaze towards me, waiting for my response. "Of course, I want this," I stated clearly, meeting Olivia's gaze first, then turning to smile warmly at Maya. I'm not sure exactly how Olivia left my house after that. Maya watched her go, her earlier empathy now completely replaced by a cold indifference. She later told me she had done her own investigation into Olivia's past actions, and everything she uncovered was deeply disheartening. "I know you weren't entirely serious about the engagement plan earlier," Maya said quietly to me after Olivia was gone, sounding a little hesitant. I shook my head, correcting her. "I meant what I said, Maya. I wouldn't have drawn that specific picture for the auction otherwise." I paused, then added, echoing Olivia's own brother's words. Perhaps Olivia was right in a way. Marriage is often dictated by family and tradition, and honestly, we are a good match in every way that matters. I took a small ring box from my pocket, opened it, and placed the ring gently in her palm, smiling as I slid it onto her finger. "Our family started in fashion design," I explained softly. "Measuring dimensions accurately just by eye is a basic skill." Maya looked a little surprised, then smiled. Reaching into her own pocket, she took out another ring box. Inside was a ring that matched mine perfectly. They were neither too big nor too small, fitting us both just right. A perfect pair, likely procured by the ever-resourceful Sam. Maya looked slightly startled. Then we both smiled at each other, a silent understanding passing between us. The fallout from Julian's exposure was swift and brutal. Olivia, perhaps seeking revenge or justice, publicly exposed all of Julian's plagiarism, detailing how he not only claimed credit for my Jason drawings, but how his entire design portfolio was built on copying others. She revealed how his startup funds were acquired by secretly selling her early sketches and copyrights. After essentially ruining his reputation and career prospects, Julian, cornered and disgraced, apparently sought her out. Hiding in the shadows near her apartment, he attacked her, seemingly in a fit of rage at the woman he blamed for ruining everything. He managed to stab her repeatedly in the palm and wrist with a hidden knife before being apprehended. Julian was arrested, and Olivia ended up back in the hospital. Her tendons were severely severed. The doctors informed her she would likely never be able to hold a paintbrush properly again. After her recovery, Olivia isolated herself once more, retreating from the art world and public life. She reportedly spent most of her time in the garden of her family home, often staring blankly at the aged drawing I had left behind years ago, the sketch of my back silhouette. Her brother, Daniel, watched over her, filled with regret, finally understanding how wrong their family's interference and his own actions had been, how they had contributed to her losing her chance at happiness. But it was far too late to undo the damage. News of the upcoming dual-family wedding between the Chens and my family spread quickly through business and social circles. Maya and I appeared everywhere together, the picture of a perfect, powerful couple. Once some chances are missed, some paths diverged, they are lost forever. Olivia, sitting alone in her garden, gazed into the distance as the sun set, perhaps reflecting on the fact that her own sun, her own bright future, had set as well.